right, good afternoon, BGD family. It is the second week of the BGD Virtual Career Fair. And if you've been with me this last week, you know that we've had some great companies with us talking about their opportunities and things you should know about when to apply for internships, jobs, and things to do to be a viable candidate. Today we have with us Pga Works. And I want to emphasize Pga Works because yesterday we had PGA Tour, and I'm going to have my guest explain. Well, I'll just briefly explain. PGA of America, which is the teaching professional side of the golf industry, versus PGA Tour, which is the people you see playing golf. Those are two separate entities, and PGA Works is I guess a subsidiary, if you will, of the PGA of America. So I'll if I said that wrong, I'll have my guests kind of correct me. But that's who is with us today. And they're going to give you some insight as to what they are all about and obviously opportunities. And we also have a former fellow of the PGA Works program that's going to share with you her experience. So without further ado, let me bring on my guest. Oh, before I go there, let me just say that if you catch this recording either late or have to leave before we end, you can go to the blackgolfdirectory.com website to sign up for to get the free recording, full interview, as well as reminders for upcoming application dates and so forth. So please, if you haven't registered already, do so soon. All right, let me bring on my guest. All right, welcome. We have with us Rachel Melendez-Maybe and Cameron Dinkins, and I'm going to let them introduce you and tell you their job titles, what they do, and then we'll go from there. Go ahead, Rachel.
Sounds good. Thanks for having us today, Jamie, and hello to the Black Golf Directory family. Excited to do this again. I know we did this last year. So excited to really talk about our possibilities. And you did say it correct. PGA Works is, I guess, lack of a better phrase, a subsidiary of the PGA of America. We exist under the PGA Foundation called PGA Reach. So we're one of the programmatic elements of our foundation. So the PGA of America acts as an association serving our members, our 29,000 members. And then the foundation is the C3 of the PGA of America that serves our communities through our members. And I'm specifically tasked with overseeing our wonderful PGA Works program, which is our inclusion pillar of the foundation, and it's all focused on workforce development. And the best way I like to describe it is it's got kind of a unique value proposition in that our programs focus a lot on player development, getting a lot of more youth of color, more minorities, more underrepresented folks into our game and our sport. I'm focused on the business. So I think that can really speak to the golfer and the non-golfer, because a lot of the narrative that I battle and kind of look to educate is that you don't really have to know a lot about golf or even play golf to be in our business, but you can absolutely leverage it to kind of enhance your business acumen. So we have several programs under PGA Works, one being our flagship Pga Works Fellowship program. We have a signature career exploration event called Beyond the Green that we host at our championships, including our collegiate championship, our PGA championship, Ryder Cup when they're stateside, and our KPMG Women's PGA Championship. So, and that's things like this, really. It's just, but in a more grander scale with the backdrop of the championship. But it's all about this. It's all about talking about our opportunities that exist in golf. And then we have our scholarships. So for those that want to pursue PGA membership, which is those 29,000 members I mentioned earlier, we have scholarships to our GMU, which are golf management universities. We have 18 of those across the country. The lack of a better way is you can major in golf. I don't know any better way to put it. You're literally majoring in golf. And when you graduate as a Class A PGA member. So we do have scholarships available for those. And as you mentioned, Jamie, really excited to actually have Cameron join me this year. She's kind of come full circle. She is a former PGA Works fellow, and she is now leading the programs with her background and really just her insight and fresh perspective into kind of elevating our programs. So Cameron, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cameron Dinkins. I think Rachel gave us a great overview of what we do, but I work alongside her on all the efforts for PGA Works. And as Rachel said, I am part of our PGA Works Fellowship program. And to her point of not being a golfer, I'm not a golfer. So I understand that how important golf is to business and how important business is to golf. So I work alongside Rachel on all the things that we do to elevate PGA Works and diversity and inclusion within the business of golf.
Great, ladies. That was a great introduction. And for those who just joined us, just a reminder, we're with PGA Works today. And so now that we've had the introductions, I'm going to have Rachel talk about, and she gave a great intro anyway about all the things you're doing. But if someone was interested in getting involved with PGA Works, how would they even begin?
So the bet, and it's great timing. So I love your timing, Jamie. We're going to open our fellowships up probably here in the next month, and we'll have over 20 of them. I think we're going to reach 20, close to 25 for our class of 23. So those will start opening in the next month or so. I would give us probably the end of October, the beginning of November. And they will be posted on pgareach.org, and you'll see a PGA Works drop down, and we have a direct link to all of those openings. We also have a partnership with Teamwork Online, so you can actually go directly to Teamwork Online and find PGA Works fellowships available. But the greatest entry point, and I'm a little biased, obviously, we work on this program, but the fellowship probably is the greatest entry point, if you will, to entry-level position in the golf industry. We often have our tagline that the PGA of America, we are professionals in the business of golf. So we take that to heart. And I think there's no better place to get that entry point than our PGA sections. And for those that don't know how the makeup is of the PGA of America, we have our headquarters, if you will, which is our governing body that serves our members, and they serve our members through our sections. And we have 41 sections across the United States. They act autonomously, but they're really under the directive and guidance, if you will, of the PGA of America. But they have their own set of officers and executive directors or hiring staff. But we place our fellows in those PGA sections. And again, Cameron can probably, I can speak to it, of course, from a programmatic side, but she lived and breathed it. So I'd love for her to kind of talk about her experience. But the reason why we framed it that way and we're intentional with it is the sections can give you every line of business you can touch, from business development, marketing, communications, tournament operations, finance. I mean, there's just a little bit of everything that our sections can provide that really enhances the fellowship journey. And it is a year-long paid opportunity, so it's not unpaid. Some of our sections have housing. So it's just a really immersive type of experience that can give you a true taste into what the golf industry can offer. And I would say if you go in a golfer, a lot of them come out golfers, a lot of them want to work in the golf industry. I mean, again, Cameron's a great testimony to that. And that's our role too. We do put you in these positions, but we also are there to guide you. We are a resource for our fellows to get their full-time jobs. We have professional development sessions throughout their journey. We put them with leaders within the business, even outside of the business a little bit, talk about building your brand. We have one next week with our chief championship officer, who is the most well-known, Carrie Haig is the most well-known name as far as when it comes to championships, if we have fellows interested in tournament operations and championships. So we really strategically position our fellows up for success. And because of that, our fellows boast about an 85% job placement rate post-fellowship into full-time positions. And it would be higher, but we actually do take on a lot of international students, and they've actually continued their education post-fellowship, so they didn't get placed into full-time jobs. So I actually think the percentage could be higher. So we're really excited to have our sections really put on such an incredible experience for our fellows. And Cameron, I don't know if you want to add to that. Again, you can speak to it better than I could with your experience.
Yeah, I think to your point, in the section wise, like Rachel said, you get the opportunity to put your hands in any and everything. And from my experience, anything that I told my ED I wanted to do, she basically allowed me to do, so that I can autonomously, do that and also gain that experience for my future likes and interests.
Wow, that sounds like a great experience and very immersive experience. So we were talking about how you can get involved in PGA Works and how it all begins. And Cameron, I'm hoping, because you started out with us with this career fair a couple years ago when you were a PGA Works fellow, now you're a full-time employee. But can you kind of go back to when you just thought, okay, I need just a job or an internship or whatever made you think about looking to apply? What led you to that, being that you didn't play golf? And then what was that, what was that process like for you?
Yeah, so going back to when I was in college, it's actually funny that we were just at the career fair that I met Rachel at. And I've always knew that I wanted to work in sports, but golf was like never on my radar just because for my own ignorance, I didn't really know much about it. But when I kind of being the planner that I am, I mapped out all the different sports organizations that were going to be at that career fair and had an interest to talk to all of them. I met Rachel, and I always tell her I probably wouldn't have gone to that table had there not been a Black woman there. So that kind of pivoted to where I was. That pivoted me into my fellowship, and then ultimately moving me along from my fellowship into working here at HQ. So we always like to say it's been a full circle moment. But I really have a passion for bringing more minorities into sport as a whole, but especially people who graduated from HBCUs. As an HBCU alum, it's like a special place in my heart. So it was really full circle that I got to go back and kind of help recruit and engage with those students at HBCUs to kind of let them know about the endless of opportunities that we have in the golf industry.
Wow, that's great. And that's powerful. Like you said, representation definitely matters. And, that's why I do this event every year, because I think people need to realize that there are people of color working in the golf industry, not just on the green grass side, but also in the corporate side. So I'm glad to hear that you saw the opportunity to approach the PGA because you saw a representation. So let's talk a little bit more about once the person, applies, what's the, I guess, expectation of the experience for them in regards to, I think you mentioned earlier, the timeline, what are the hours like? What is the experience like? And I'll start with you, Cameron, just because you've done it, and then Rachel, I'll have you piggyback. Okay.
Yeah, basically, so each of our fellowship has their own application, as they all have their own hiring managers. So we always encourage students to apply to the ones in the cities and areas that are most comfortable to them, whether that's location towards where they went to school, relative towards where they went to school or where they grew up. That's kind of how majority of our fellows are picked, but we also have fellows like myself and others who went to a city and state that they had never been to or far away from home. It's kind of all in the comfortability of the person that wants to apply. For instance, some of our fellowships are we have one here in Dallas, in Houston, places like Orlando, right outside of Miami. We have them in Detroit. We have them in so many different places, Atlanta, that are comfortable to people in their likes and interests. But once they apply, we kind of, if we know them or we've been able to source them from a certain group, we let the hiring managers know. And then from there, those hiring managers, they take control of that interview process. Um, and then once the fellows are hired, we reconnect with them, kind of put them in our database. We do our constant communications to them, whether that's for our professional development sessions or just intro sessions and calls with them. And really just kind of set up calls and things throughout their fellowship to make sure that once that fellowship is over, if they aren't able to get an open position within their section, we're leading them and putting them in the right direction to get a full-time position elsewhere, whether that's in the golf industry or with one of our associated partners.
That sounds very thorough, and it sounds like you have a great communication system. Kudos to Rachel in that regard, because I'm biased as a female, but I feel like we do the best job when it comes to communicating and being thorough when it comes to work in the workplace. So I think that's what makes this experience probably unique from others. It's just knowing that you have somebody like Rachel kind of leading the charge. So Cameron, can you share with us what one of your favorite activities, moments, or experiences that you've had during the fellowship, just so people get a real glimpse as to what it's, what you like the most and what you got out of it?
Yeah, during my fellowship, I think my favorite thing that I was able to do was to help run a fundraising event we had at Topgolf for our military initiative, PGA Hope. I was able to fully run it on my own, so it was a big project to work on. Of course, I made mistakes along the way, but I had a staff that helped me and helped put me in the right direction, helped make sure that I did the right thing so that it turned out successful. And I think that it was. So that's what I'm proud of. I really enjoyed that. And I know that it's something that's a constant fundraiser in that section. So it's always happening. But I got to put my own spin and flair on it. So I really appreciate that part of it.
So I'll ask you, Rachel, is this a common thing that the fellows get to run a project? And obviously Topgolf is where this fundraising project happened, but are the projects pretty similar, or can you give more information on that?
Yeah, so, it's kind of a good segue. I like what you had said something earlier, Jamie, about that representation matters. And, we know we hear that a lot, but I think particularly in our industry, it's really poignant, especially that jobs don't just exist in our green grass facilities. So we really hope to accomplish that, debunk that myth with these fellowships. So exactly to what Cameron was saying, our fellows, we mentioned it earlier, they touch from business dev, tournament ops. You name it, they're immersed in it. And yes, I would say that every single one of our fellows, and I give full credit to our wonderful executive directors and our sections, in really following the sort of the guidance that we provide, that they have tasked their fellows with projects. Our fellows, and we're very intentional with calling this a fellowship and not an internship, because it does, I think, and maybe I'm aging myself here, but when I think interns, I used to think of the days where you're just like grabbing coffee and making copies. That, like, I don't want anything to do with that narrative at all. A fellowship is you're an employee of the section, and we really urge our sections to treat our fellows as employees. They get paid as an employee, they get benefits like an employee. So they work as an employee. So they're definitely, as soon as they learn the ropes a little bit, they are tasked with certain projects, from drive, chip, and putts, which is, another junior activation, PGA Hope events, some of the fundraisers. Again, I know that the Gateway section, which is where Cameron was at, has a huge fundraiser with, I think it's Ozzy and Friends, obviously an MLB star. And it's just, those are the tasks that our fellows get to experience. And then add on to sections that host championships. Like for next year, we're going to be in the Western New York section for the 23 PGA Championship at Oak Hill. And that fellow will have a really integral part of our activations at a championship. So they also get to experience and really be a part of a major championship. So yeah, we absolutely are. My favorite word is intentional. We're very, very intentional about the experience, so that it's not just an internship, that it is a job, and a fun one at that. Again, I might be a little biased, but they are absolutely immersed into different projects and tasked with autonomy with that.
Nice. And I love that you all, integrate them in such a way, because I've worked with interns in my previous work, and, I can say just from my experience that not everyone knows how to engage an intern or a fellow, if you will. And so the fact that you all are, make it clear to your teams that this is something they need to take as an employee versus just an intern, and use the word fellow as a way to kind of, I guess, decipher between the two is a great thing to hear. So in regards to, and this is for you, Rachel, in regards to applying for these positions, what are some things you're looking for? Cameron touched on some great things. She's a planner. She seems like a go-getter. But what are some things that you also look for in a candidate that wants to get this opportunity?
Really good question, and Cameron did hit on a lot of what we would look for from I think like a hard set skills and soft set skills. But the biggest emphasis I want to make to the Black Golf Directory family, and I know most of your constituents probably come from a golf background, but to those that don't and are interested in this opportunity, I want to again debunk the myth that and one of our section leaders actually said this best in an interview. You can teach the birdies and the bogeys and that terminology, but when a candidate has the right set of skills, that's who you hire, that's who you engage with, right? And I think particularly when we start to engage our underrepresented communities and our diverse communities and our Black and Brown communities, that's an important narrative because we still are in a very homogenous industry. And Jamie, you know this more than anyone, as I do. If we don't start to kind of break down that narrative, then we're still going to be left outside of the, kind of outside of the bubble and not be invited in, because they're going to want those golf skills. And until our communities get more immersed in golf skills and golf language, then we're going to miss out on the next Camerons of the world, just because she doesn't have a golf background. So, I do want to urge, your stakeholders and your Black Golf Directory family that if you have the right skill sets, which is, yes, be a go-getter, be an ambitious person, be a self-starter, want to succeed, then you're the right candidate for us. We can teach all the birdies and the bogeys and that terminology. That's what we're here for, and that's what the section staff is there for.
All right, so we obviously know that the good things, but then I always like to have the audience learn some of the things that are probably turnoffs to people like yourself that are looking through the resumes or in an interview. We've gotten the grammatical error issues and people submitting forms with they didn't actually fill in the form correctly or a template. Yeah. So do you have any insight you could share with the audience about either some interview no-nos that just make sure people understand what could potentially prevent them from getting an opportunity? That would be helpful.
I mean, I think there are a few things, from when you start from the resume standpoint, there's this fine line of standing out and making it stand out almost, if you have like flowers everywhere and it smell like, sometimes there's a balance, right? But I think still a standout resume can be things like, a really poignant profile, if you will. I think they're still calling them profiles. If you have a link to a digital portfolio, digital portfolio these days are very underutilized. I would also recommend to update and keep your LinkedIn updated. I feel with our students, and I actually was thrown off in a good way when we were at Thurgood Marshall last week of how many more students are really taking their LinkedIn profiles seriously. But LinkedIn is I think an incredible, powerful tool, but still a little slightly underutilized or not utilized the correct way in really elevating and positioning yourself in a really impactful way. But I think digital portfolios are a real big standout to me. I think you can do something as simple as Squarespace or Wix. They're free. They have templates, and it's super plug and play, and you just really put in what you've been doing. It's as simple as that. And you mentioned obviously the grammatical errors. I think that's a big no-no, but still one I see a lot. And during interviews, we are in a Zoom world. We still are in a Zoom world. But still take seriously Zoom interviews. I know I've unfortunately had students that have shown up in like raggedy t-shirts, hair is a little unkempt. It's still an interview, right? So I think still taking Zoom interviews as seriously as you would an in-person interview is critical. Come with questions, do your research on the programs, on the community, or I'm sorry, on the organization, come prepared with questions. And then lastly, thank you notes. I don't know what it is, but I don't get a lot of thank you notes these days. And those that do send thank you notes are usually top of the list and top of the line as far as callbacks go for me. It could be an email. A sent one is an extra special touch, but I am just as happy with an email thank you note. But follow-ups and thank you notes are really big for me as a hiring manager.
Yeah, no, that's definitely been something a lot of other companies have said. The thank you note is a lost art for some.
Yeah. A lost art, really good way to put that. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It really, really is, but still really, really important.
Yeah, no, I think that's really helpful because, and you something that I don't think I've heard before outside of LinkedIn. I don't think I've ever heard of a digital profile, but basically you're alluding to the fact of either having a online, a page, web page that has your information.
Yep.
And I'm glad you pointed out because I wouldn't have always thought that would be helpful. Sometimes people don't necessarily want to click a link outside of, especially if they're, I mean, I don't know if people get hard copy paper resumes anymore, if that's a thing.
Yeah, I guess people were doing QR codes all day last week at that career fair, but they still had their paper resumes.
Okay, all right, I like it. So QR codes is something that people are doing.
Yep.
So that's all good, helpful stuff because, like I said, I mean, I'm like you. I date myself. That was done around, and so I'm just like, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Good.
it's a thing. It's definitely, and like I said, Wix and Squarespace offer free templates, and they actually is a category for, I want to say it is resume or portfolio, something like that. And it's a plug and play template that is so easy. Even I've done it. So if I can do it, I know our digital natives in your community can do it too.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. So I'm going to switch gears and go to Cameron and I want to talk to you about one, your transition from your fellowship to your full-time job you have now. But before you talk about that, can you just share with the audience, not having golf before, and again, I'm hoping that's changed. I'm hoping you've dabbled since we met a couple of years ago. Did you feel that was a hindrance for you coming into a golf industry job, or do you think that you were given tools, training, help in that way so that you could understand the sport better?
Yeah, to answer your question, I didn't feel like it was a hindrance because everyone around me at my fellowship took the time to help me learn like the rules and, as I just said, like the tips and tricks, like what a bogey is, what being on par is. So I learned that along the way. I've of course made mistakes and might have misquoted something, but everyone really helped me gain that knowledge. So I feel like I'm way more equipped and to know a lot more than I did when it first started. I'm sure there's still things I probably mixed up, but totally get the logic and the lingo as of now. And to the point of transitioning from my fellowship to my internship, my fellowship to my full time role. I thought it was pretty solid, pretty easy because what I do now is kind of like helping people who were like me. So it's very kind of, I hate to say this again, but full circle and knowing how to help people, being in that role and help me learn how to help other people who are in the role that I once was in. So it makes it a lot easier. It makes my job a little less like, I guess, I don't even know what the word to say, like hard for that matters. I just know that I can be a helpful resource to anyone who does feel a little, I guess, stagnant or they don't understand everything that they need to do because they aren't a non-golfer, because they are a non-golfer. So my experience has helped me be more of like a mentor to the ones that are in the role now.
Yeah, and that's something I didn't think of, and I'm sure Rachel, the genius that she is, that was another part of bringing you on full time because Rachel, as I know, is a golfer, and so to have someone working on her team that has that non-golf perspective and can relate and empathize with someone coming from that perspective, I think is great to have a person like that on your team because you just don't think about things like that. Like, what are some of the things that a non-golfer would be intimidated by or just wouldn't know, and you're talking your everyday lingo, saying things like you said, birdie, bogey, just talking the golf lingo, and people don't understand what you're talking about. Can be a little frustrating and intimidating when you're first coming into a workspace. So that's good to know that you're there to kind of say, wait a minute, maybe we should explain this and help them understand what we're talking about and not just kind of go about the run of the mill of the day. So With that, can you give us a little bit, Cameron, insight on some of the perks that you feel you've gotten outside of just the general benefits of the job, but just some of the perks that come with working PGA of America and PGA Works program?
I think one of the biggest perks is that it's not a I have to sit behind the computer all the time type of job. We're always moving. Getting to go to our championships is really cool, and then immersing ourselves into those communities for our Beyond the Greens is even more important to me because like that speaks to me and who I am and what I want to do continuously as my career continues. So I think like that's the biggest thing. I get to kind of like I hate to say like show it off, but I get to do things that my friends in other jobs don't get to do. So the traveling is a big benefit, and the different communities and things that we get to attend really make the job like that extra special because not only are we saying what we're doing, we actually get to put actions to words.
Right. Thanks for that. Rachel, you want to add any perks that you might think come with the job?
I mean, Cameron said it really, really eloquently. It's especially the latter part is putting a little bit more action into words, because there's been, you know, a lot of talk for a very long time, and I still think we have. I mean, not I think I know we have a long way to go. It's not anything that we hide, but it's nice to kind of put you know action behind our words now. You know, one of the it probably was one of your first events, Cameron, where was it Philly? I guess was like your first event, first Beyond the Green that you attended and were present at, which was our PGA Works Collegiate Championship, and we visited a school, a Cristo Rey school, which is part of another network of charter-like schools across the country. And we visited with two ladies that attended Beyond the Green, two young ladies that attended Beyond the Green. They wanted to kind of meet one-on-one with us, and we did. It was a wonderful day, and we got in the car, and Cameron had this like big smile on her face, and she was just like, see, like that stuff makes me happy. Like that brings me joy. That makes me happy. So it is, I think it's those sort of immersive moments, yes, but it's also those grassroots moments that I think are particularly more impactful for me. I do love our championships. I mean, I've been with the association for a little over 12 years, and I've had my fair share of championships, and I'm always so grateful to be present at them because we can make the most impact at our championships because of the backdrop of the championship. But it's the grassroots moments that really, really hone in on me and make an impact, because it's, you know, Jamie, I give you full credit as well. You know, you do this for a living. You know, we can, as a PGA of America, think that we can swoop in, especially with our diverse communities, and save the day. When you've been in our communities forever doing the work, we need to partner with organizations like yourselves, with Black Girls Golf, with, you know, Latina Golfers Association. There's so many of those organizations that have been doing the work for so long that's what I get excited about too, is those grassroots kind of partnerships, and our fellows come along for the ride with it, and you know, particularly Cameron has really taken the leadership position in a lot of our partnerships. You know, when we have foundations like the Obama Foundation coming to us thinking like, you know, I really like what y'all are doing, let's talk. You're like, holy crap, like maybe we are doing something pretty dang cool here. And I'm just excited for the progression, and every single one of our fellows as part of that narrative, to elevating how our programs look, because they are ambassadors for the program, even within their sections. They talk the talk as you know, probably better than when we are, because they're living the experience. So the mentorship part for me, the grassroots organizations, you know, it's weird, Jamie. I don't know if you've experienced this, but it doesn't feel that long ago where I was being mentored, and you know, I'm still being mentored by people, but then like that transition when you're the mentor now is like, when did this happen? But when I have students still coming to me and calling me, when our very first fellow still calls me, you know, with advice and kind of like where she's at. And you talk about how Cameron said that makes me happy when I can mentor and I still have students coming to me about advice. And just kind of where they're going is just, it just makes my day. I know why I do what I do, for sure.
Yeah, well, I can hear in your voice the passion you have for what you're doing with the PGA Works, and I think that's what makes it so successful. I mean, you obviously have been on the other side and grew up in this industry and know what it was like to be in Cameron's shoes, just getting started as a young Black woman in this industry, and now you're able to, help mentor, like you said, other young people of color and help them to see all the opportunities and benefits that the golf industry can provide outside of playing the game. And so I think just giving kudos to you for just continuing to do that great work, and kudos to Cameron for staying involved, because I'll be honest, I don't know. I've never worked anything outside of the golf industry. I can't imagine going to like the NBA or other sports. I'm all in. I mean, I just don't know if I had that, desire, but I think you've done a great job, Rachel, to kind of make it look fun, make it look and make it fun, and have them do things that are actually engaging and make them want to keep going with the industry. So with that, I want to do some quick fire questions just to kind of wrap things up, and then I'll leave you some time to just give some, quick how to find you, things of that nature. So the first question, these quick fire questions are going to go to both of you. So I'll start with Rachel, and then Cameron can follow up. But the first one, of this year's events, because you've gone to so many, so I won't go beyond this year. But of this year's events, what has been your favorite so far?
Oh my gosh. So it's such a tie, honestly, between the Collegiate Championship and this year's particularly PGA Championship because of the location. I might put the PGA Championship because of the location. It was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And, as a Black person in America, I am ashamed to admit I did not know a lot about the race massacre and Black Wall Street. But I also came to find out I'm not in the minority for that. And being immersed in that community and being very intentional about our Beyond the Green there, where we engage the entire Greenwood District and Black Wall Street community, was incredibly eye-opening experience. And yeah, it's probably the best way to put it. It was such an eye-opening experience that a generation of Black wealth was just eradicated, and that community is single-handedly like rebuilding its wealth and presence in the community. And there are such incredible community leaders. I gained a mentor actually there, and a good friend, and Dr. Tiffany Crutcher. I still talk to her on a weekly, if not almost daily basis. And she is a pillar of that community. And yeah, so I think that the Tulsa location for the PGA Championship and that particular Beyond the Green was my favorite.
I think mine would be our Beyond the Green at the Women's KPMG, just because it was based on, we tried to really just hone in on girls. And a little biased because that's like where I'm from. It was in Bethesda, so it's like in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area where I'm from. So I love that we got to really make it interactive. We got to have like a more interactive session with the kids, and they truly enjoyed it. So that was my favorite one, but I think they all have pieces of them that were very like, that made me happy, I guess, or really like, I can say there's one thing from each of them that I truly enjoyed, but that one had to be my favorite one this year.
Wow, those both sound really fun and educational. I mean, like you, Rachel, I learned about the Tulsa Massacre myself only recently, and I've done some book reading about it, and it's just pretty incredible that it was something that was erased, except in history. And I saw the KPMG. You actually do a great job, by the way. And I know you hire a great team and partner with organizations to put on those Beyond the Green events, but you do a great job with the media side of sharing those experiences, because I follow you on social media, and it's always exciting to see all the cool things that you all are doing at those Beyond the Green events. So my second question is, of all these great events, because again, I see pictures and videos, and it seems like you have not just professional golfers there, but you have celebrities of all backgrounds, sports, I'm guessing possibly movie stars. I can't even think of all the people you all interact with. but who's someone that you are, I guess I could say, a bit starstruck by, if you could think of someone. If you get starstruck, I don't know, but just someone that you were like, wow, I never thought this is where I would meet ...
Oh my gosh. I don't even know if it's like honestly a celebrity. I mean, I think I focus so much on, like, I'll call them captains of industry, if you will. That there's so many captains of industry that I didn't think I would meet or even have the chance to interact with if it wasn't for golf or Beyond the Green, you know, from incredible leaders at Bank of America, you know, Ebony Thomas, who's an HBCU grad, actually alma mater of Cameron's. I mean, she's a powerhouse, and I've been following her. And she was on our stage talking about, and she's not a golfer, and she's up there just talking about how golf can play a critical role in business, and especially for HBCU grads. And, you know, the chairman and president and CEO of Comcast gave, and he wasn't there present, but he took time out of his day to not only give us his Comcast Technology Center, but did a heartfelt note to our students about careers in media, careers in golf. And I don't know, Jamie, all of those interactions, without singling out like just one person, really hones in on that intersection of golf, sports, entertainment, and how they all kind of collide. And there's a uniqueness to golf that really brings all of those industries together. And it's very cool to see kind of it come to fruition, especially in a Beyond the Green type of setting. You know, we had, I think it was it Chris Tucker that gave like even a video message, and there's just so many captains of industry. And since the progression of our Beyond the Greens, you know, we have, you know, like I said, the Obama Foundation that now wants to lean in, or, you know, other captains of industry that are like, I'm in, like, I really want our leaders to be present now at these events. So yes, I mean, I'm not easily starstruck, but there's something about the captains of industry that have made some of America that is kind of cool to see, to kind of see them take an interest in our little event.
For mine, I would have to say Ebony Thomas at Bank of America. Little biased because she went to the same university as me, but I think that as a young professional, we sometimes are so zoned in on what we do now, we don't see what we can be in the future. And she was a clear example of like what I could potentially be in the future as a professional. And she was so down to earth, and knowing that we went to the same university, she wanted to like connect with me even more. So it was really great seeing her, and she was just like an amazing person to be around.
Man, that's pretty awesome. That's a great point, Cameron. I mean, beyond the fact that these people are very successful in their industries, possibly famous, the fact that you're able to see like, hey, this person started where I started, and here they are, you know, this very successful person, and they're giving back to something, a sport that I'm now involved in. So that's pretty cool to hear. Well, that's all I have for my quick fire. So you guys are off the hot seat. I ask that you tell the audience again how they can learn more about the PGA Works Fellowships, the application deadline, and if you didn't already address, what is the age range or collegiate level that you're looking for to apply for these positions?
So specific to our fellowships, they are, because they're full-time job opportunities, we do look at postgraduates. However, and I didn't mention this, as I know we're very Pga Works focused, but 20 of our collegians out there that are currently in school, we also do have internships at our new home of the PGA of America in Frisco, Texas. And those also will start opening up here over the next month. They're 3-month internships, so they're summer internships. And they are placed in different departments within the PGA of America. So you might be in tech or finance or foundation activities, player development, DE&I. So we have different sort of internship in our departments. Our fellowships, like I said, both of them will start opening up here in the next month or so on pjreach.org. And of course, you can connect with myself or Cameron on LinkedIn. You know, that's how we communicate with a lot of our students that are interested in opportunities, because as Cameron mentioned earlier, while we aren't like technically the hiring manager for said for said section and for a fellowship, we are the liaison, and we do provide recommendations, for lack of a better phrase, to those hiring managers. So, kind of what we say holds a lot of weight, if you will, to those hiring managers. And that's how I think that's where a lot of how we can elevate our communities within our space is, because we can be that liaison and be that, kind of that connector, if you will, to those hiring managers.
Awesome. So you all heard it. If you are interested or know someone that might be viable to apply for the PGA Works Fellowships and or PGA of America internships, be sure to look out for the pgaworks.org website. I'll also be putting out in the email blast that'll go out with this recorded interview links to that website as well. And I'll be sending out reminder emails in the coming weeks about when the deadlines are approaching. So please, if you're not registered, again, go to www.blackgolfdirectory.com to receive those reminder emails. And then again, LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, reach out to Rachel Melendez-Mabey and Cameron Dinkins directly so that you can hopefully get an inside connection and to having those opportunities. Ladies, thank you again for all this great information. You all did a great job. I'm interested myself now.
I love it. Well, thank you for everything you do too, Jamie. Again, in elevating our communities and our, the opportunities that exist for them. It's cliche, but it matters. Representation does matter. And I know you're really doing your part, and we're just really excited to always support you how we can and get our message out there, but definitely alongside with you. So thank you for everything you're doing.
I appreciate it. All right. Thank you for those who joined in. Again, if you missed any of this interview, you can get it full recorded by registering for free at the blackgolfdirectory.com website. Thank you again, ladies, and everybody have a great afternoon.
Thank you.